It obviously also sounds like a utopian fantasy, something that will never come true, especially not in our lifetime. But I want to remind you beforehand, utopias have a tendency of coming true. Just think of how the end of slavery, equal rights for men and women, and democracy, they were all regarded as impossible ideals once. But in history, there is something called progress. So let's start with a simple, basic question. Whether a man or a woman, whether you're employed or unemployed, the basic income is a right as a citizen of your country. Moreover, it's also unconditional. So you'll get it no matter what. No one's going to tell you what you'll have to do with it. No one's going to tell you what you have to do for it. The basic income is not a favor, but it's a right. Just like, for example, the freedom of speech is a right as well. But most importantly, in the past few decades, and there have also been very large-scale experiments in the 70s, in the 80s, in Canada and the United States. They're almost forgotten nowadays, but they were a big success. Now, what researchers have shown time and time and again, by comparing a test group of poor people who received free money and another control group who was similar so that they could see what the effects would be. Time and time again, they have shown that free money results in, well, lower inequality, lower poverty, obviously. It also results in less infant mortality, lower healthcare costs, lower crime rates, better school completion records, less truancy, higher economic growth, better emancipation rates, and all kinds of other positive social outcomes. Time and time again, researchers have shown that free money may be the most efficient, the cheapest, and the most civilized way to combat that free money may be the most efficient, the cheapest, and the most civilized way to combat poverty. It started, the impossible had happened. 7 out of 13 of the men had a roof above their head. 2 more had applied for housing. Some of the men took gardening classes. Another learned how to cook, for example. They visited their children again. And all of the men made plans for the future. It sort of seemed as if the cash had empowered them. Now, I don't know if there's a politician in the room, but a politician would probably, magazine The Economist concluded at that point, the most efficient way to spend money on the homeless might be just to give it to them. Experiments such as these, and that have been done all around the world, show us that we need to rethink what poverty actually is. Poverty is not a lack of character. Poverty is a lack of money. Nothing more, nothing less. So it turns out that it's a great idea just to give money. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living through a time and age in which our societies and economies are changing faster than ever. It's an age of automation. The robots, they're coming for our jobs. Now this will bring obviously great prosperity, but it also means that we will have to adjust. If we do not adjust, if we keep applying the solutions of the 20th century, to the challenges of the 21st century, then the middle class will crumble and inequality will soar. Now truly this is a dystopian future. Nowadays, governments are obsessed with pushing people into jobs even when there are no jobs.
More billionaires live here than anywhere else on Earth. And we are widely acknowledged as being the most powerful single nation around. But for a country so wealthy and so innovative, our living standards are not that great. Our infant mortality and child poverty rates are among the highest in the developed world. Americans can expect to live shorter and sicker lives compared with people living in many other rich democracies. We have the highest incarceration rate in the world. And of the 10 richest countries, the United States comes in last in terms of mobility and opportunity. The United States is so rich, and yet so many of its citizens remain impoverished. There's a big idea out there that could help solve this. It's called a universal basic income. A basic income would help eliminate poverty, especially deep poverty and poverty among children. It would give workers more bargaining power. With that kind of safety net, people might become more entrepreneurial and take more risks. They might free themselves from abusive figures in their lives. They might go back to school. They might make more art. They might choose to spend more time with their families, or take care of their elderly relatives, or volunteer in their communities.
Budged. The median black family has 10% the wealth of what a white family has. The US's social support system is, by many accounts, broken, and we're facing a future, if not already a present, where robots and automation are taking away jobs. For these and other reasons, the idea of just giving people cash, what's sometimes called a universal basic income, is gaining some traction.
For us, we were going to name the fact that it was African American women because this race and this class of individuals have been so marginalized that we now have to come in and very explicitly get to equity.
From their previous work, they learned that the number one need here was just cash that they could spend as needed.
Hopefully save up enough to get up out of here and get in a house.
Well, that's a good plan and a strategy. I agree. So we have families that actually have no cash.
When you're a single parent and you're on a set income, and you have bills, and you have kids, and you have to make sure you have money to get them what they need, or call people, ask them for it, and they don't want to do it because you don't have the money because you're not working and you're trying to take care of 4 kids. It's not easy at all.
So while this $12,000 is in a way doubling their income, it doesn't mean they're going to get richer inside. So the real shift here is that these individuals will have the freedom to choose what they want to do with this $1,000 a month.
Would be a $1,000 dividend for every American adult citizen every month under my plan, the Freedom Dividend.
What do you think the American economy would actually look like under that? How do you think we change from what the economy looks like right now?
Well, the great thing is the economy would start working better for us because if you look at what happens in practical terms with an extra $1,000 a month, people's nutrition improves, kids' ability to learn goes up and graduation rates go up over time, stress levels improve, mental health improves. It would create over 2 million new jobs directly in the economy because the money would circulate through local businesses, and then each of those businesses would then have to turn around and hire an extra worker or two. And so it's very pro-work, and the great thing is that it would allow Americans to all participate in the consumer economy and keep businesses strong, because what's really bad for businesses is when people don't have money to spend or participate.
What would you say to your detractors?
So one of the key ways we pay for this Freedom Dividend is you look up and say, okay, 30% of American malls and stores are closing in the next 4 years because Amazon is sucking up $20 billion in e-commerce every year. And then you say, okay, well, how much is Amazon paying in federal taxes? And you find that number is 0. So then you say, okay, so how do we make it so that $1 trillion tech company doesn't get away with 0 taxes? Because it's not their fault, it's our fault. We just must have designed a very, very faulty system that allows that to happen. And so the big change we have to make is we have to join every other advanced economy in the world and have a value-added tax, which would then give the American public a tiny slice of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile. And because our economy now is so massive at $20 trillion, up $5 trillion in the last 12 years, a value-added tax at even half the European level would generate $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with current spending, economic growth, cost savings, and the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, more educated population would pay for a $1,000 dividend for every adult. That cash actually improves people's lives, the better.
The logic of the market has overtaken most of our waking lives. Normal Americans will increasingly suffer as the market grinds on and eliminates opportunities and paths to a better life. A majority of the technologists I speak to are already 100% certain that the automation wave is coming. They skip to the logical end. The time frame is unclear, but it really doesn't matter that much if it's 5, 10, or 15 years. They've already gotten there in their minds. Most are ready to head for the hills. I am fighting for my soul because I'm right there with them. I see it too. I see the path from here to there, filled with broken people and communities, and a society torn apart by ever-rising deprivation and disability. People will blame each other because they are locked in a fight for scarcity. Experts will squabble while the average person suffers. Families will deteriorate into dysfunction. Children will come of age with them false promises. The age of automation will lead to many very bad things, but it will also potentially push us to delve more deeply into what makes us human. I spent the past 6 years raising a small army of idealistic entrepreneurs who have fanned out to 18 cities around the country. Dozens of our alumni have started companies ranging from a crawfish restaurant to a company connecting brand sponsors to little leagues, to a chickpea pasta company, to a company that helps make construction environmentally friendly. We have helped create more than 2,500 jobs. It's amazing. It's inspiring. It won't be nearly enough. It will be like a wall of sand before an incoming tide. I created a multi-million-dollar organization out of people and ideals. I have lived in Manhattan, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco while working in Providence, Detroit, New Orleans, Cincinnati, Las Vegas, Baltimore, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Miami, Columbus, San Antonio, Charlotte, Atlanta, Nashville, Birmingham, Denver, Kansas City, and Washington, D.C. I have been in the room with the people who are meant to steer our society. The machinery is weak. The institutionalization is high. The things you fear to be true are generally true. I wrote this book because I want others to see what I see. We are capable of so much better. Ideas change the world. That's wrong. People change the world. People making commitments and sacrifices and doing something about the forces that are tearing our society apart. Whom do we serve? Humanity or the market? Are we the opiated masses, the elites in our enclaves, careening toward a conjoined, bleak destiny that we are powerless to stop? Is there enough character and will and confidence and independence left to build the world and do what is required? Is there enough empathy? Capital doesn't care about us. We must evolve beyond relying upon it as the primary measurement of value. Human capitalism will give us the chance to define what's important and pursue it. I'm now a grown man with a family. I know the difference between talking about something and actually doing something about it. There is no hiding from what one knows. I even know the difference between writing a book about something and fighting for it. The choice to cut and run or to stand and fight. We must convert from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. The revolution will happen either before or after the breakdown of society. We must choose before. It will not be easy. We all have dysfunction within us, darkness and pain, contempt and resentment, greed and fear, pride and self-consciousness. Even reason will hold us back. Through all of the doubt, the cynicism, the ridicule, the hatred and anger, we must fight for the world that is still possible. Imagine it in our minds and hearts and fight for it, with all of our hearts and spirits. As hands reach out clutching at our arms, take them and pull them along. Fight through the whipping branches of selfishness and despair and resignation. Fight for each other like our souls depend on it. Climb to the hilltop and tell others behind us what we see. What do you see? And build the society we want on the other side. Evelyn, thank you for all that you do for me and our boys. They will grow up to be strong and whole. The rest of you get up. It's time to go. What makes you human? The better world is still possible. Come fight with me.